Hey there, fellow garden enthusiasts. If you've been following along here on Grow with Soil, you know I'm all about working smarter, not harder, in the garden. And let me tell you, there's nothing quite as satisfying as planting something once and watching it come back year after year, spreading its beauty without demanding constant attention. That's exactly what we're diving into today. Fast-spreading perennials that'll give you stunning color from spring through fall without breaking your back or your budget. I'll be honest with you, when I first started gardening, I was that person buying flats of annuals every single spring, spending way too much money and time replanting the same spaces over and over. Then I discovered the magic of vigorous perennials, and it completely transformed how I approach my garden beds. These plants are the ultimate investment, and once you understand how to work with them, you'll wonder why you ever did it any other way. Before we get into specific plants, let's talk about what makes a perennial a fast spreader, and why that's actually a good thing when managed properly. Fast-spreading perennials typically expand through one of three methods: rhizomes, those underground stems, stolons, which are above-ground runners, or aggressive self-seeding. Now, I know the word aggressive might sound scary, but in the right context, these plants are absolute workhorses that fill in gaps, choke out weeds, and create that lush, established look we all crave. The key here is strategic placement. I've learned through trial and error, mostly error, if I'm being honest, that you need to give these plants either plenty of room to roam, or install some barriers to keep them where you want them. Think of them as enthusiastic garden helpers, rather than invasive nightmares, and you'll develop a much healthier relationship with these powerhouse plants. Let's start with spring, because after a long winter, we're all desperate for that first pop of color. Creeping phlox is one of my absolute favorites for early season impact. This low-growing gem creates cascading carpets of pink, purple, white, or red flowers that'll make your neighbors stop and stare. It spreads steadily to about 3 feet wide, handles poor soil like a champ, and once established, it's practically indestructible. I've got mine spilling over a rock wall, and every April it looks like a waterfall of color. Another spring champion that deserves way more love is ajuga, also called bugleweed. This ground-hugging perennial has gorgeous foliage in shades ranging from deep purple to variegated green and cream. Plus, it sends up stunning blue or purple flower spikes in late spring. What I really appreciate about ajuga is that it provides interest even when it's not blooming. It'll spread to fill in those tricky shady spots under trees where grass refuses to grow, and it's deer-resistant to boot. As we move into summer, you need plants that can handle the heat and keep performing. Black-eyed Susans, or Rudbeckia, are the workhorses of my summer garden. These cheerful yellow daisies bloom for months, spread enthusiastically through self-seeding, and attract pollinators like nobody's business. I started with 3 plants 5 years ago, and now I have a drift that's easily 10 feet across. The best part? They actually look better in masses, so their spreading habit works in your favor. Catmint, or Nepeta, is another summer performer that I wish I'd discovered sooner. This plant produces clouds of lavender blue flowers from late spring through fall if you give it an occasional trim. It spreads into billowy mounds that soften garden edges beautifully, and the aromatic foliage deters deer and rabbits. I've planted it along my driveway, and every time I walk past, the fragrance is absolutely intoxicating. Now, if you want something truly dramatic for summer, consider daylilies. Yes, each flower only lasts a day, hence the name. But modern varieties produce so many buds that you'll have continuous color for weeks. They spread through multiplying crowns and will eventually form substantial clumps that you can divide and share. I've got varieties in my garden that range from pale yellow to deep burgundy, and by choosing different bloom times, I've managed to have daylilies flowering from June through September. Here's where many gardens start to fade, but not yours, not anymore. Sedum, particularly the upright varieties like Autumn Joy, are absolute must-haves for late-season interest. These succulent perennials form dense clumps that spread reliably, and their flower heads transition from pale pink to deep rose to rusty red as fall progresses. Even better, you can leave the dried seed heads standing all winter for architectural interest and bird food. Asters are the other fall essential that'll keep your garden looking vibrant when everything else is calling it quits. New England asters and New York asters both spread enthusiastically and produce masses of daisy-like flowers in shades of purple, pink, and white. I've naturalized them in my back meadow area, and every September through October, it's like having a private wildflower show. They pair beautifully with ornamental grasses for that cottage garden look that's so popular right now. Let me share some real-world wisdom I've gathered over the years. First, don't be afraid to divide and conquer. Most fast-spreading perennials actually benefit from division every few years, which keeps them vigorous and gives you free plants to expand your garden or share with friends. Spring and fall are typically the best times to divide, and it's honestly one of the most satisfying garden tasks there is. Second, embrace the editing process. Just because these plants spread doesn't mean you can't control them. I spend maybe 30 minutes every few weeks during the growing season, pulling seedlings from where I don't want them and redirecting growth. It's honestly meditative work, and it keeps everything looking intentional rather than chaotic. Third, layering is your friend. By combining early, mid, and late season spreaders, you create a garden that transitions naturally through the seasons with minimal input from you. I've designed several beds using this principle, and they've become the lowest maintenance, highest impact areas of my entire property. The beauty of fast-spreading perennials is that they make full-season color not just possible but actually easy. You're working with nature's own multiplication system, creating abundance without constantly opening your wallet or spending every weekend with your hands in the dirt. These plants want to succeed, want to spread, want to bloom their hearts out. Your job is simply to give them a good start, and then let them do what they do best. I'd love to hear about your experiences with vigorous perennials. Have you got a favorite spreader that transforms your garden every year? Drop a comment below and let's keep this conversation growing. And if you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button so you never miss our practical, down-to-earth gardening advice here on Grow with Soil. Share this with a fellow gardener who's tired of replanting the same spaces every spring. Let's help everyone grow smarter gardens together.